Hello, hello. Dave here from Constant Contact. Thank you so much for joining us for another of our webinar after hours. This time for folks that joined us for our Create Your Website, 3 pages to publish with confidence. Today we're doing something a little different. Rather than just answering questions straight out, we asked you to actually provide your websites if you wanted to get some feedback on them based on the content that we ran in our webinar. And so today for this after hours, I actually have a few websites here that I want to walk through with you. So thank you in advance for submitting those. Basically in our webinar, we talk about this idea that really websites are there as a service to people, potential customers, prospects, looking for answers to their questions, right? It's really kind of like this opportunity for you to speak with them and reach your audience, create this asset for yourself that answers those questions that your audience is going to have, gives them a sense of what it's going to be like to work with you, and really helps push them over that edge in terms of whether or not they're going to do business with you. And the way you do this, of course, is a little bit different dependent on the nature of your business and what you're actually trying to do. But there are some really questions that we start to think about, and we really want to approach it from this perspective. What are the questions that somebody coming to your site for the first time is having? Whether they're looking to confirm about your business, because that's what people do these days is, if they hear about a business or they're looking for something, they're either searching for something that they're looking for specifically. It may end up at your website, or they've heard about your business and going directly to your website, and they're looking for confirmation again to make that decision on whether or not to move forward with you. So with that said, again, thank you again for sending in your websites. We're going to take a look at some websites here with that lens. And the first we're going to look at today is Agent Assist, LLC. So we're here on the home page, and what we're really looking for, so the 3 pages that we recommend that you have, and then other pages would be dependent on whether or not, or I should say dependent upon the nature of your business, right? And so, for example, we mentioned like a restaurant would want to have menu pages. If you're selling products, you'd want a products page, that type of thing. So here we have somebody that typically, though, in addition to those pages, is the home page, it's your about page, and it's your contact page, okay? So if we take a look at this website here, let's just see what we have. We have a home page, excellent, right? We have a services page, which makes sense because this person is selling services. We have a contact page. We don't have an about page, okay? So right off the bat, that's one of the things that I would like to see, because typically people, again, we do business with people that we know, like, and trust. And typically what we want to do is, get a sense of who is it that I'm going to be working with, right? Who is this business? Who is this company? So it's always good to have some information on that about page. So there's one thing there I'd like to see here on this particular page. So Agent Assist LLC. So we get right into it here. What I really like about this, we can see this copy here on the left-hand side that talks about the average agent spends 15 to 20 hours, sometimes more on every transaction to take it from contract to close. That is valuable time you could spend growing your business, right? Agent Assist LLC allows you to focus more of your time on what is important by removing the burden of managing deadlines. So here's what I really like about this, right? We really start to get the questions that we're trying to answer quickly for somebody on the homepage is what is it? Who is it for? So what? And what should they do next, right? And so we're really setting up, I can get Agent Assist. So I understand that if I'm an agent, one thing I might like to see here is actually, I think what this is for a real estate agent. So it'd be good to see something that mentions that somewhere on this page so I know that that's specifically who it's for. But what I love about this little introductory copy here is that it really sets out the problem, and it sets out the problem from the user's perspective, right? So the person coming to the site, it's for somebody understands this problem, that knows they're spending a lot of time doing all of this transaction work that really could be used and put someplace else, right? So that does a really great job of that. So we understand what it is. We're somewhat understanding who it's for. We understand it's for agents, but we don't get the specific for the real estate there. But I think that's one piece I'd like to add in there. And then what I like is the kind of so what here, right? Why Agent Assist, right? And so it lays out here through our transaction management software system, blah blah blah, takes you through that and gives you the kind of why you would want to do that. So this is great. We do have, I mentioned the About page. There's a little blurb here about us down here at the bottom. I still would like to see a full page in here that kind of gives some more detail. The one thing that we don't necessarily have here is some imagery, right? So it might be good to see some of the people that you work with. This is even a place where I'd like to see maybe the owner of the company here or something like that to get on here. Again, so we're starting to build and make those connections and starting to build that relationship with somebody visiting the site. So I'd like to see that. The other thing I want to look at here is I'm going to take this screen and I'm going to check this for mobile responsiveness, right? Because the things that we know are that websites really need to be fast, they need to be secure, and they need to be mobile responsive to really start to rank well in search engines and provide a really great experience for people visiting them. So if we take a look here and I do this, excellent, right? This is a mobile responsive website. So that means if somebody's looking at this on their phone, you see how that screen is shrunk down, or they're looking at it at a tablet that may be a little bigger, they can still work this site and find the information that they need. So good on you there. So let's go to the contact page. Let's just see what's going on here. Things on the contact page, right? Where can I find you? When can I find you, and kind of how can they contact you? So we have the how they can contact you here, right? So you can submit that information. It might be nice to see some other there's some other information here at the bottom too, in terms of calling and email. So I may like to see that information up here on this page as well, just so we can get a little bit more of that information in the area that we're going to be looking for it. What I'd like here too is there's a call button. Okay, so if we go back to this home page, right, we don't really have the what they should do next. So that would be a recommendation that I would have. It looks like, basing on that contact page anyway, that call is the thing that you would want somebody to do here that's potentially looking for your services. So I'd love to have that be front and center on the home page and all of the pages really that say, here's what I need you to do next. To take that next step is to actually contact me and call me, right? So really decent website here, does a lot of things really well, and hopefully that's helpful. Let's take a look at another one. So here we have White Mountain Waldorf School, sorry about that, inspiring a love of learning. So again, let's just look at what we have here. We have a home page, we have our About Us page, which is great. Contact pages underneath there, so it's not one of the main things, which again could be fine just based on the nature of the particular business that we have here, a nonprofit. This looks like a nonprofit since it's at a .org. So let's real quick, before we get into anything, let's give it the mobile responsive test. So let's see here. Okay, excellent. You see how that website is kind of morphing to take a look at. Or it changes based on the size of the screen here. So that's great. So that's good to see. One thing I might recommend, you'll notice up here in the Chrome, it says not secure. That it's as simple as adding what's called an SSL security thing to your website. You might want to think about looking into that. Because what that'll do is that'll not have this little notice up here. I think Google has kind of backed off a little bit in terms of giving a big warning when people are visiting your site. But ultimately, you want to have that website secure just in case there's any passing of information. That information can't get intercepted. And we can find we can include some more information on SSL and thinking about that and getting that added to your website, at least what that is. So you can have a little bit more information on there in the comments section or the details of the description of this particular video. So let's take a look here. One thing I'll mention, I think we mentioned this also in the, so we're trying to figure out what is this, right? So White Mountain Waldorf School. So I think we get by the title, obviously, that it's a school, right? Inspiring a love of learning. Okay, it's about learning. Who is it for? So that's not necessarily clear when I'm looking right away. But I do see here, wondering if Waldorf education is right for your child. Okay, so I think that's actually a really great thing. And what I might suggest is we mentioned in the webinar earlier that we're not big fans of these kind of scrolling tops here, just because the information changes and you're not really able to give the information to the people when they need it. And then it changes when they could be looking at it. Again, they're trying to make these decisions really quickly. And these types of things, tuition and financing, this could be handled in the kind of navigation instead. And so this is like great information to kind of get up here in front, maybe give a little bit more explanation, which comes in later down the page, but some of this stuff, actually, we've got the early childhood, kindergarten, elementary, maybe better served up near the top of the page. And then this kind of, I like that we have the kind of, this gives you the kind of this, so what here, this gives you the specific things that they do. So this is more of the, what is it? And then there's some information here about within this video, which is great. But what I like about this is that there's a clear call to action, and this is really about sign up for a weekly walkthrough. So what I might suggest is maybe this, instead of saying register today on this call to action, is really maybe having, instead of that, having a schedule your visit or schedule a tour or something like that, because register today makes me feel like that's I'm actually going to sign up for something. And I'm not actually signing up for the school. I'm signing up, or I'm scheduling a tour, really is what I'm doing. And so that's just a little more clear on what it is that you'd want me to do to actually come see this school before I'm making a decision to actually register for the school, if that makes sense. So yeah, some really good things there. Let's take a look at the About Us page. So it looks like this is so we're going about our school. So this is great, right? History and background, giving some information. I think, we mentioned the idea is it's always important to frame this. I like that we have here an alumni parent. I'm grateful, it has a testimonial here. It gets you to this other areas. It gives you that kind of navigation. This is really great. I like that this is in the story format too. In the winter of 1994, it highlights the problem, right? And that's what we're really talking about and thinking about doing here when we're doing those things, is saying, what is the problem and how did this thing come about to help solve this particular problem that was solved? So I think this does a really nice job of outlining that. I think there's opportunities to add a call to action. And thinking about, like, if somebody does read this page, like, again, what is it that you want them to do next? I will say one of the other things that we look for is, is there some type of newsletter sign up or something like that? Are we collecting email addresses? I didn't see anything like that on the homepage, but that's something to think about. Because if somebody's not ready to kind of take these next steps, that could be a way, that's that secondary call to action that we talk about, that, you could be able to get somebody's information to be able to contact them again. And let's look at the contact page. So this is great. I love that we're using some imagery here. We're showing, what this kind of entryway looks like. We're giving the physical address, we're giving the mailing address, the phone number. So all that pertinent information that somebody needs to know. If anything, I would say maybe you could add a link to directions or something like that, or to the map, just so somebody can easily click on that if they were looking on their phone, something like that. But, then again, on a phone, that this information may become clickable. But yeah, really nice job here. So let's move on here to Kathy Loper Events. So let's take a look, right? Here's the home page. Again, what is it? Who is it for? So what, and what should they do next, right? So looking at this, I'm gathering it has, Kathy Loper Events. It has something to do with, it looks like, international running tours is the same thing. So some type of marathons and things like that. We have, in terms of navigation, we have the Contact Us page. I don't see an About Us page at all. Be nice to see that there. So Kathy Loper Events has been directing and managing events for over 30 years and has earned a reputation throughout Southern California so our wide variety of local and international events attract families who enjoys it. So here's where we're getting into we're not really getting into it until this second paragraph here is of what they kind of do. And so one of the things that we want to think about is really putting the information out there and thinking about the customer first and putting that information front and center, because really the person coming to the site is saying, is this the right site for me? And a lot of times what you can do is what we call kind of like the we test, right? So are you talking about yourself a lot? Are you using we? Are you using our instead of words like you and yours and talking about the customer, the potential customer? And so I think this is great information, but maybe information that belongs on an About page, and really starting with this idea of, maybe rephrasing this a bit, but looking to run an event that attracts families who enjoy a casual walk, run, or something like that, really gets more into what the person coming to the site is looking for and making that connection for them so that they're like, yes, this is the right place and I want to learn more about Kathy Loper events, right? Start with them to get them to you is kind of the thinking there. Let's take a look at this contact us page. So great, has some information to, connect on the social channels, has the contact information. Cool. So yeah, there we want to say, where can I find you? So there's no information here necessarily. I'm assuming actually, if I go back to this homepage, San Diego. So so there might be some information on saying like where we run events. Let's see, managing events for over, so Southern California. Okay, so that information is there. So I might want to see that on the contact us page too. It's always nice to kind of give just a quick recap and a couple of sentences on the contact page to let them know like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I'm kind of doing here. So good things here. It's got some, minor suggestions I might think about making just to put it a little bit more in frame of the potential visitor and somebody coming out there. Let's take a look at our next website here. So it looks like Minas. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Minas looks like Brazilian music, right? So we've got some interesting things here. It gives a little update here about what this is. So it talks about what they're doing. We got an about page here. We got a calendar, programs, press, see, listen, store, contact. So it looks like we've got a good amount of things here. Our calls to action here are really about kind of listening to the band, which is great. I think that's good. I think this is good. We do have a sign up for our newsletter here. One suggestion I might make is lead with, something that they're going to get in exchange for giving that email address. So make it less about the newsletter and more about kind of, here's something that we'd like to give you in exchange for your email address. And you'll also get these other things in our newsletter. Might be something to think about there. So what is it? Who is it for? So what? This is the type of thing where, if I don't know the nature of the business or what types of, gigs necessarily that you're looking to get for this particular band, but this could be the type of thing where you're focusing on maybe the places that you might play, or if this is fans, you might, consider doing something like that. Like just being really clear about like who this is for. So let's take a look at the about page. So there's some information here. So these are the types of things that, like the different types of things that they do and the engagements that they run. So I actually would like to see a little bit more of that on the homepage, right? So it's like festivals and concert series, arts and culture events, jazz clubs and music. So colleges and universities, right? So somebody looking to find a band for those particular scenarios can see right away that those are the types of things that you do. But I love that there's like some information about the band and the artistry of the band, and then you can actually watch them perform and get some information on their history. So some good things there. We typically recommend thinking about that, a real call to action. I think that's maybe what we're missing here. So, and I think that comes with being more clear on kind of who it is that you're targeting or who's visiting your site. So if you're looking to, like, maybe it's a book Minas to come play, like that type of thing. It's booking information potentially that you want to have as like your main call to action. That might be something to think about on all of these pages. I love that, again, those additional pages that you would add in relation to what your particular business is. And also, thinking about having the newsletter sign up on every page as well, along with as that secondary call to action. And then let's just check out the contact page. So great management. Information there, other information that you need to get, sign up for your newsletter and the latest information there as well. Good. So yeah, I love that we're using pictures of the band, the people in the band. It's great to see that. I love that we've used pictures that show them kind of performing and the types of venues that they perform at. Again, it's helping people make those connections. Are these the right people for my particular event or something like that? So nice job there. Just checking the time. Okay, great. So we've got a couple more that we want to look at here. So let's move over to Stone Pride International Corps. So let's take a look here. So we're on the home page, right? And so let's just take a look at the pages. So we have a contact. We don't necessarily have an about page here, but you'll notice that there's about us is what starts on this home page. And so we have the information, we just don't have it in its own kind of navigation link here. But this brings us back to that idea of, are we speaking to the person coming to the site and speaking to them directly to make them feel like they're in the right place, right? And so let's see, Stone Pride International Corporation is a marble and granite supplier in the warehouse of Anaheim, California. Its products include marble medallions. Okay, so it talks about all the things that it creates and things that it does. So here's where, I don't know this industry, so I'm not really clear on, it looks like, some very beautiful work that they do for very, upscale places. And so it'd be nice to see this kind of start with some information that kind of calls out the people that would be looking for these places. And so maybe it's I don't know how this work kind of like who the people looking for Stone Pride would be. It's maybe a contractor or something like that would be looking to get this as a source, right? And so I would think about, if that's correct, I would think about having that be the lead here. Again, not a big fan of the scrolling images, just because it can sometimes be a distraction, but I do love the beautiful imagery being used here because you're showing kind of what the finished product looks like. But I would maybe focus more on the people visiting the site here to give an idea of, what it is that you would be getting or who it is that they really serve. And then maybe having a clear call to action, right? So what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to call? Are they supposed to look at a specific line of products? I mean, I know we have different things here, but I would think about what that call to action is for the site. Let's look at the contact page. Again, contact page, where can they find you? How can they find you? And how can they contact you? So it gives the information about where you are, office hours, pickup and delivery. Great. Good. Give some information. Maybe if you do have people doing pickup and delivery, it might be nice to see a photo of the actual warehouse so people can kind of get an idea of where they should be going for those types of things. But gives the right information here, so that's good. I would love to see more of an about page versus just this information here, maybe moving that to a separate tab and then focusing more here on the people that would be using your services, right? Okay, let's see. Let's go to Enjoy, I think is how you pronounce this site. It looks like this is like living in joy and style. I know that means enjoy, so forgive my French. But we can see here, really, it looks like call us is potentially, or shopping here is what we want to do. So that's great. I love that there's a sign up for a weekly newsletter here. Again, I would maybe focus this on what they get in exchange for doing that, just so it gives a little bit more impetus to kind of have somebody take that action, right? So it looks like living in joy and style. So it looks like we've got lots of wine going on here. It looks like events, so clients. It looks like featured products are like these gift baskets. And so I might like to see something that kind of indicates to me what it is that I'm getting here in terms of so living in joy and style. Like, is it style as in clothing, or is it's really about, it looks like it's about wine and food. Here's the blog that they talk about. So just something that makes it a little bit more clear in some of these upfront images, and maybe that's just a bit of text before you get into these images, right? But it looks like you can shop now and do those things, so you're pointing people to the right things. Let's take a look at about. So this is great. We've got the people that are running the business. This is really good. Give some story. I might think about, this seems like a lot of text here. One of the things that we want to try to do, because reading online is a lot different than reading in a book or a page, is like really breaking this up. I would think about how you can make this a little bit more concise. And if you're going over 3 or 4 sentences, you want to really think about hitting the return. So that's easier to kind of read and consume for somebody, because if you're looking at this, and actually, let's do this. I forgot to do this on the other one, but okay, great. We do have a mobile responsive site. That's great. Let me just go back to Stone Pride here and just see if that's doing that there as well. So it looks like that is also mobile responsive, which is great. Minas, let's go here to their homepage, just checking these for mobile responsiveness too. So it looks like here's one, so you can see how that difference is, right? You really want to think about mobile responsive. This page isn't moving at all based on the information that's on the page, so you kind of lose some of that. So that'd be something to think about there. But so I think there's a lot of great information in here. I love that we're using the imagery. It looks like we can start to get into like people really just connecting with the story and that love of food and life and all of that you have going on. Again, I would think about breaking this up, thinking about using things like subheads and things like that. Like you're doing a good job here of doing that in the vision. So maybe it's, pulling up some of this information here. And kind of just reworking this to make this a little bit more concise, but looks like the right pieces are there. And then lastly, we have a website here from the Gram. And so we're here on the home page. So let's think about, let's first give this, like we've got a home page. We don't have an about page or a contact page. So I would think about adding some information there on that. But let's do the mobile responsive test. Yes, that is mobile responsive, so that's great. Okay, so what is it, who's it for, so what, and what should they do next? So the Gram, the family newspaper that brings joy to grandma or grandpa, sign up, right? So I think this does a really good job of kind of outlining kind of what it is, right? It's the family newspaper that brings joy to grandma and grandpa, really simple and to the point. I think that's kind of like a big thing to kind of mention in general, right? A lot of times your website is kind of like the first step. So it's an introduction to people. So you don't have to tell them everything. You really want to get focused on what's going on so they can start to explore and learn more as they become connected to you. And so I think this does a great job of really laying out what it is, who is it for, and so what, right? And so your grandparents' favorite gift, right, highlights that this is about, people that want to give something to their grandparents. So this is really cool. The call to action is to sign up. I like the imagery here, right, where they're showing, grandpa and grandma kind of enjoying reading this gift that you would give them, like that we can see a sample, gets a little bit deeper into how it works. Gives you some information about just signing up. So really great job here with that. We've got the sign up page, a frequently asked questions page, right, which is probably a great thing. So you can, answer those questions that potential customers may have. Looks like, I think if I'm correct, this new page. Yeah. So this is our subscribe page. So I think we'd want to update that heading there to like subscribe or like maybe a different term, again, focusing on something that they're going to get, like what are they getting out of subscribing to the newsletter? But like thinking about that, and there's no real contact page. So I would like to see some information about like how do we actually get in contact with the owners of the business. But in terms of like the homepage and what it's delivering and getting clear there, I think we've got some really great information there. So that is all the time we have for today. Thank you again to everybody who sent in the websites for us to kind of take a look at. Congratulations for getting those websites out and getting them published, because that's often the most difficult thing to do is actually figure out like, what am I going to put on this website? What am I going to do? I hope you found, we'll include a link to the recording of the webinar if you haven't seen it. Hope if you did, you found it valuable, because that's really what we were trying to help you to do, is think about what are those things that go on those pages, and really you can get that website up sooner than later. And start getting business and getting feedback on it with just those essential pages. So thanks so much for spending some time with us today. Hope it was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.